A massive amount of raw strength is required to seal off a section of the stratosphere. That is not a gentle warning. Any violation of prohibited airspace or a no-fly zone is grounds for a lethal response. These zones serve as a declaration that anything larger or more artificial than a bird will be cooked out of the sky. Following an initial breach, offending aircraft are typically issued warnings before being escorted out of the zone by heavily armed warplanes. These 8 draconian restrictions have been imposed in the name of national security or military necessity. So, for your own safety, become acquainted with these 8 perilous skies. 1. North Korea. North Korea, an obvious first choice, is one of the most volatile countries on the planet. With an ever-expanding list of human rights violations, the country has succeeded in isolating itself from the benefits of modern society's emphasis on ethics. The seat of the supreme leader is notorious for administrations that openly mock the West by recklessly launching test missiles into the sea. An intercontinental ballistic missile alerted the world as recently as November 3, 2022, when it flew harmlessly over Japan. As a result, the U.S. prohibits flights across North Korea, which is unfortunate for Pyongyang vacationers. 2. Cuba. The consequences of violating airspace are severe, as demonstrated by the Brothers to the Rescue shootdown. Cuba had established prohibited airspace over the Cuban mainland as well as disputed international waters, and 3 Cessna 337s violated this rule in 1996. 2 of the planes were shot down by an anti-Cuban government organization, while 1 escaped, resulting in 4 deaths and no survivors. The event sparked controversy, but the Cuban Foreign Ministry insisted that the planes had been warned before attempting to destabilize Cuban politics. Regardless, the incident serves as a reminder to pilots to take the presence of fighter aircraft seriously. 3. Paris, France. But not the city of airspace violations. Unless authorized by the Ministry of Defense or the Paris Police Prefecture, civil and military planes are not permitted to descend below an altitude of 6,500 feet. Despite being 3 kilometers from Paris, the business district La Défense is subject to the same regulations as a result of the 9/11 attacks. Notably, the Prefecture of Police grants authorization for air surveillance, air ambulances, and VIP transport. Commercial airlines fly over the general Paris region, but the city itself is avoided at all costs. 4. Washington, D.C., United States. The United States, an impenetrable nation situated on a fortified landmass, is modernity's closest revival of ancient Sparta. As a result, the political heart of Washington, D.C. must be safeguarded at all costs. With high-security areas like the Pentagon, the White House, and the Capitol to protect, it's no surprise that air traffic is prohibited here. In 2014, a small craft pilot inadvertently entered the zone and was escorted by 2 F-16 jets toward North Carolina. Nonetheless, the Capitol was evacuated as a precaution, demonstrating that the United States is territorial even when its own citizens cross the line. 5. Parthenon, Greece. The most magnificent monuments in history do not have a backup copy, and this 24-100-year-old Greek masterpiece is no exception. Any air traffic below 5,000 feet will be chastised and likely interrogated, even if it immediately changes course. Given the cultural and economic value that the Parthenon provides through symbolism and tourism, Greece has every right to spit in the face of intruders. In comparison to the Louvre's high-tech security, the Parthenon sits out in the open rather than in an underground bunker, putting the horde of statues and sculptures it houses at risk. Despite the fact that local authorities are on high alert, the Parthenon will remain open to foot traffic for many generations. 6. Disney Parks, United States. A contentious measure, Disney World Florida and Disneyland California are under the protection of an FAA-issued aviation ban. The reason is for unspecified security reasons, which are most likely related to crowd density. Other private and public stadiums benefit indirectly from a temporary flight restriction, and opponents claim that political connections helped venue operators achieve this. Regardless, visitors can relax as they stroll through the meticulously maintained grounds, knowing that the only flying vehicles in the sky are Star Wars props and Aladdin's carpet. 7. Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, United Kingdom. Prior to the revolutionary discovery of artificial flight by the Wright brothers, the United Kingdom defended its coastal cities with unbreakable naval power. When aircraft broke all the rules of traditional warfare, imperially significant locations such as Buckingham Palace demanded increased security. To give the empire's administrators one less thing to worry about, this 300-year residence of monarchs was granted a no-fly zone. Similarly, after a man with a crossbow approached the castle in late 2021, Windsor Castle was granted a no-fly zone. It's unclear whether this intruder intended to switch to 21st century aviation tactics after being released. It's fascinating to see old fortresses benefit from modern security, with rounded walls designed to deflect cannon fire. 8. Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Mecca, the center of Muslim pilgrimage, has already seen excessive turmoil in its holiest sanctuaries. Mecca has been invaded and desecrated for nearly 14 centuries, including as recently as 1979. Given the area's historical and religious significance, an outright ban on aircraft ensures the safety of pilgrims who have traveled the world to practice their faith. Exceptions and permissions do occur, such as the 2006 Mecca hostel collapse, which killed 76 of these pilgrims. Emergency services were given permission to use helicopters to deliver aid to civilians, many of whom were passing through nearby markets. Aviation represents the ability to either risk or rescue at any given time and place. A no-fly zone is a strategic and temporary implementation of prohibited airspace in traditional warfare, such as the zones previously asserted over Iraq and Libya. Implementing a no-fly zone for the Russo-Ukrainian war is currently a contentious issue, and it is unlikely because it could spark conflict between Russia and NATO. Governments use prohibited airspace more permanently to protect national interests, such as the 8 government and cultural sites listed here. Prohibited airspaces, whether enforced by escorts or anti-aircraft defenses, are not suggestions. They are unwavering tools of self-defense.